Okay, I just made this neat plane in KSP here, and I just thought I'd show how it flies. This is actually, I made this fairly quickly. I just had to tweak the wings a little bit, angle of attack wise, and it actually flies very well. Like a lot better than I expected it to. So you can see there's a pretty high positive angle of attack here. I just tweaked it a little bit. I changed the angle of attack here, but that didn't really matter. And I changed the engine angle at one point, but that was way too much. But this is a pretty perfect setting for this. So the main issue that I ran into is that with this more tail dragger type design, I couldn't get the nose high enough to actually take off because the landing gear on the back's in the way. But there was no way to mount this higher to make the tail go down more, which was definitely a problem. But obviously angle of attack works. But the main problem with that is that you can only bend stuff like 2 degrees at a time or something like that. So this is a really high angle of attack, which doesn't seem to be that big of a problem, but it kind of is. But if I could remember how to do trim in this game, it wouldn't be that bad. But I can't. I guess I could just go figure it out, but I'm not going to. Okay, but you can see that the tail does go down quite a bit, so that helps a lot. And then let's see how this thing flies. As you can see, it uses turbofan engines instead of those ramjets. It's not going to be going into space or subspace, but it's got a lot of fuel. Okay, let's go full throttle for takeoff. I could probably take off at less than full throttle with this. It flies pretty well. Okay. And I always fly my space planes with a joystick because it's a lot easier, so that could lead to this a little bit. We've got a little bit of torque on takeoff, like we're flying a propeller plane, but it lifts off really easy. I didn't even pull back. You could look, I didn't pull back at all. It just takes right off. And then this is the pitch we've got, but trim should be able to fix that. But I'll just fly right now with the stick pointed forward. It flies quite well. It's real nice. Whoops, we're flying down towards the water. See, a lot of planes at KSP would have already either hit the water maneuvering like this or falling apart. So this is pretty good. Whoops, we just got really close to the water and we're still fine. Go ahead and lower my throttle. I don't know why it insists on doing those, what are they called? Autosaves. I'm kind of tired right now. I don't know why it insists on auto-saving like that and lagging the game while you're flying about 100 feet off the ground, but whatever. So if I drop throttle to around 1/3, we get a pretty even heading. I'm going to say this is probably the cruise speed for this aircraft. It's pretty nice, at least at this altitude. I haven't tried flying it higher yet, because the KSP altitude for the jet engines is kind of sketchy. I know the planet's smaller, so the atmosphere is probably smaller, but I'm not really used to where the engines really start choking. Especially the turbofans, because no one ever uses those. But yeah, this is real nice here. I'm going to show you some aerobatics in just a little bit, but first I want to take it in for a landing just to show how easy this thing lands. Did I ever take the gear up? Yeah, I did. I guess I could just look on the staging thing over there. See, we're at a pretty messed up angle right now. We'd have to be insane to try to land like this, but it doesn't even matter. We don't need a parachute or anything. So now we're going to lower throttle, cut throttle, coming in pretty steep, but this thing's got a lot of lift behind it, so it doesn't matter. Now pull up, flare, flare, and that was a hard landing, but we're in. Might go off the thing a little bit here, but see, that was really easy. We could just brake now, but I'm going to go ahead and start up that throttle again. Still haven't crashed. I mean, a lot of planes would have crashed quite a few times by now. This flies real easy. Usually, you see the canard aircraft. This one, if you notice, is not a canard layout. It's a tractor layout, which is a little bit different than what you generally see, because the way it's set up, there's not very good choices for that. But I had to use these control surfaces on the tailing edge of the tail, which doesn't give quite as good of a response, but otherwise it's pretty good. I noticed when I try to pull some aerobatics, there's some weird stuff with how the control surfaces work. Like, if I try to do like a snap roll, like this, the vertical stabilizer just looks like it stops turning for some reason. Like it glitches out when it's upside down. I can still kind of do it though. That wasn't it. That was just a normal roll, pretty much. But yeah, it rolls pretty well. I've also done a full loop in this plane before, but it's very sketchy because of the way that it works. But yeah, those engines give it a lot of power if I can fly up like this. Like, we are losing, we are getting a negative delta V, but it doesn't matter. See, it just stopped. We can fly straight up in the air. These engines are so powerful, even though this is a large plane, which is kind of messed up, but whatever. Let's go ahead and try to pull a loop here. Whoops, I messed it up a little bit. There we go. Full throttle all the way through the loop. We're to probably cut here because I want to crash into the ground. Maybe I won't need to. We're flying pretty high. Before the first loop I did, I came within probably like 50 meters of the ground, and I had to cut throttle to slow down and get a little bit more lift. But still worked pretty well. I don't really like how my vertical stabilizer there is so small, but there's just no other choices, really. I mean, I could have put like a full-size triangle piece that was like the same size as the horizontal stabilizers, but I thought that would look even worse. Or one of those smaller ones, but that one doesn't really have a matching size for the control surface, which I'm not really into either. So, yeah. There's not really enough parts for the space planes. That's my biggest problem with it. Like, it's kind of like Gary's mod, only there's like basically like 5 parts to choose from, which is sort of an issue, but you can get creative. Okay, whoops, that would have been pretty bad if we kept flying like that. We are getting some really weird gyrations. I'm not doing that right now. I'll just let go of the stick. Okay, it straightened itself out. Anyway, let's bring it in for one last landing here. I'm going to gain a little bit of altitude, drop throttle. See, this thing has a ton of fuel. That's part of why it's called the LR, is because I think this thing could go pretty far. Like, yeah, we are at about, is that a quarter down from the 2 main tanks on the wings? But the entire fuselage is also fuel tanks all along here, so like, that's a ton of fuel there. I haven't even used up in any of my flights, I haven't used up like 1 tank, so that is quite a bit of fuel to have. Drop my gear right now, just because I don't really want to forget to, because I don't think Kerbal Space Program handles belly landings very well. Though I have tried. Okay, now we're pretty much cut throttle. I don't think our engines are making any thrust anymore. So we're just gliding in right now, all the way. This is a real long glide range. I mean, this is... a lot of aircraft would have fallen out of the sky by now, but the way the wing surfaces work on here, it doesn't really make any sense. But, I mean, a real plane could glide this well. And we're just about in. Let's just soft touchdown. Nice little flare. That's good. Anyway, this thing is real easy to fly. I haven't tried flying it with the keyboard, but flying with the joystick, it's really nice. It's just like my other smaller plane, only much bigger and much smoother. If you brake really hard, then the tail comes off the ground. It looks kind of cool. Let's do that. Watch this. Go to pump it up to full throttle for this, get a little bit of airspeed. Okay, yeah, you can do a stoppie in this plane. Anyway, that's it.